Hey everybody, my name is Grace and this is my June and July wrap up. So all the books I read for the past 2 months. I can't believe it's August now. I'm turning 28 in a couple of days, so it's exciting. Anyway, so these are the books that I read. So first book I read, finished in June, was The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. As you can see, this is not a thin book by any means. I really enjoyed this one. It took me a while, obviously, to get through it, but I did. It's like really lush, in-depth world building. A lot of religion, like this religion that she created in this world, and like warring religions and dragons and journeys. And it was a really good time. It was a fun escape into a very, like I said, like a very ideal, like maybe not as realized world, a realized world. Like it felt very real and textured, and it was great. It was really good. It also had fantastic like female protagonists and friendships, and explored a whole like gamut of relationships. And I think if you are in the mood to really sink your teeth into like a very lush world, I keep using the same words, but if you are looking just to like really escape into a fantastical world, I would recommend it. Okay, next, I talked about this in my mid-year book freakout tag, but I'm going to talk about it again. The next book I read was Motherhood by Sheila Heti. I am forcing my friend to read it, so she's borrowing it right now. I love this book. This was a new favorite, and it has introduced me to autofiction as well, which is like autobiography fiction. So it is fictional, but it heavily pulls from the author's life and experiences and maybe even their internal world. So there's kind of like a blurred line between the character and the author, and you don't know where one starts and the other ends. This one just explores the decision of whether or not you want to have children and like become a mother or a parent. I think anybody could appreciate this book. It really like explores all the different angles that you could take to make this decision, all the different like schools of thought and perspectives, and why it is like such a big decision for some people to make. But it's just the way the format and the exploration with form for me was so compelling, and like I couldn't put it down, even though it's not obviously like not a plot heavy book at all. It is all like internal and reflective. But I loved it. I truly loved it. And it's a new favorite for me. So that was my second book. So like off to a strong start, had a great start. The next book I read was Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which is also being borrowed by a friend. Let your friends borrow books. Let your friends borrow books. I love Emily Henry. Beach Read remains my favorite Emily Henry book. It was just the right one for me. I also loved People We Meet on Vacation. Book Lovers was very good. It was good. I really like Charlie. I really like Nora. For me, and I've heard this critique from other people on the internet, it leaned a little heavy in like Nora's family dynamics for me. Like it was a lot about Nora and her sister, and the banter and the dynamic with Charlie was just so good that I wish we got more of that than like the sister dynamics. Like that's just not what I'm looking for when I am reading a rom-com. Like I want the banter, I want the tension, I want the hero main character dynamic. But it it was super enjoyable. And if you're looking for a great like summer read, a great rom-com, I would highly recommend it. Okay, next I read The Interestings by Meg Wolitzer. This one is super literary, very much like nothing's going on. You're just like exploring the internal world of these characters. It follows a group of friends that meet as teenagers at this performing arts this performing arts summer camp, and kind of follows them from there. The main character, Jules, gets kind of roped into this group of friends, and they call themselves the Interestings because they're so like special and unique and just interesting. And it just follows them as they get older. It really explores themes of like talent, and like the things that you get celebrated for at 15 are not necessarily the things that you can like build a career out of, or like a life out of, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is talent at this point in your life maybe isn't enough talent to get you through at another point in your life. And it really explores that, and like even like the things you love somebody for when you're 15, you maybe are sick of by the time you're 40. But it was good. I enjoyed it. Like very in-depth character exploration. Yeah, I mean, it was not a favorite, but if you're looking for just like character study, exploring talent and what makes us worthy of celebration, I say go for it. And that was June. I only read 4 books in June. That's okay. At least we're reading, right? We're not going to pressure ourselves to read 7 million books. So then July started, which was the Summer Splash Readathon, which was really fun to participate in. I also found some great new content creators from it. And so my subscription box is just like filling up with more and more great booktubers. So I love that. So there was a bingo board with the Summer Splash Readathon where you basically are trying to get bingo. I believe I got bingo a couple different ways, but I am going to share what boxes certain books covered. And there was quite a bit of double dipping, but. So the first book I read in July was The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Not sure. Apologies to this man for mispronouncing his name, but it's just like such a classic children's book. I have gone years and years and years and years without reading it, and it's just got these really sweet, like earnest illustrations. And it's just about this little prince that our narrator encounters, and this like adventure that the prince goes on, and all of the people he meets and all of their problems that they make up for themselves. I don't understand the ending of this book. I'm going to be straight with you. I did not understand the ending of it, which is embarrassing as it is a children's book and it went over my head, but that's just the way it goes. With this book, I covered quite a bit of my bingo board. So I did Heat Waves, which is a book entirely set in summer. Somebody online said that, so I'm going for it. Easy Breezy for a book under 200 pages. Sunny Days for a book with yellow on the cover. Summer Vacation, it's translated from French. It was a translated work. And then Share the Love, which is someone else's favorite. I know that Sally and Allie. All right, we're going to do that. I know that Sally and Allie both really love this book. So it's one of their favorites. So that's where I got that one. Okay, next I read The Tale of Despero by Kate DiCamillo. Please let me know in the comments down below if you read this book as a child, because I loved this book as a small child, and I haven't read it in like probably 20 years, which makes me feel old. But it's so good, you guys. It's so sweet and precious. And with this book, I covered the Roots Square, which is a childhood favorite, and Sandcastle, which is a book featuring royalty because there's a princess in here. But it basically follows this brave little mouse named Despero, and he falls in love with a princess, and kind of things unravel from there. And it's this little really, really sweet adventure. And what I love about children's books is just the little nuggets of wisdom that get placed in there. I kind of wish I would have like annotated, because there was just so many sweet like reminders in here. It was just really good. And it's really inspired me to read more children's fiction, and even like middle grade, because I really, really enjoyed reading this. And I think the first time I read this book was like in 3rd grade, and it was just like really nurturing, like 3rd grade Grace. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a really good time. So I would recommend reading this or revisiting one of your favorite books from childhood, because it might just be like a nice little warm hug that you needed. Okay, the next book I read was The Deep by Rivers Solomon. This covered the Surf's Up Square, which was a body of water. Some of these are water. Anyway, really compelling. It covers, basically, it follows this mermaid community, and these mermaids were born from formerly enslaved people that were being trafficked across the ocean in the transatlantic slave trade. So heavier content, really, really explores generational trauma and the burden of carrying that with you, and the ways that it affects you and it affects the people around you. So I was really like swept away in the story. It's based off of a song, which was based off of another song. So I think it's like a really cool collaborative effort of like other people's creativity ultimately leading to this book. And I thought it was great. It's not very long, but it really packs a punch. Next, I read The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. Bridgerton book. I was just after The Deep, which was kind of heavy. I was wanting to kind of change it up a little bit and do something a little lighter. So I went for The Viscount Who Loved Me. This follows Anthony and Kate. I will say I enjoyed season 2 of the show more than I enjoyed this book. I've seen season 2 of the show like 3-4 times. Like it really did the right thing for me. But this was enjoyable. It's like historical romance. You know what you're getting. And for me, when I read romance, like I need an escape. I need like a palate cleanse. And this did that for me. So super fun, kind of an enemies to lovers dynamic. There are some other dynamics in there that I didn't anticipate. It does diverge from the show quite a bit, which is I mean, that's like not a surprise. But if you're wanting just like a fun historical romance, go for it. Okay, next, this is exciting because this is another new favorite and an incredible book. I read True Biz by Sarah Novick. Oh my God, this book is amazing. Also, really quick, I don't know if this even matters, but this covered my Hot Girl Summer Square, and this covered my Pride Square. This book basically is like a love letter to the deaf community, and it covers different experiences within the deaf community. So our main character, Charlie, is deaf and has a cochlear implant, and she is going to this deaf boarding school, and it's about the headmistress there, friends that she makes, and it all throughout is interspersed with like sign language instructions, with history of the deaf community. I don't know if you can see that. And I could not put it down. It was so like compelling and enthralling. The writing was beautiful. It was informational. I was like learning a ton. And I was so into this book that when I finished, I watched an interview with the author. And in that interview, I learned that only 8% of parents that give birth to, like, only 8% of parents that have deaf children will learn sign language. And that is just like the reality of that, and the implications of that is just like a portion of what is explored in this book, and the difficulties and challenges and the triumphs and celebrations that the deaf community experiences. So I really, really, really can't recommend this book enough. It's so good. Okay, next there was a challenge to read a book entirely outside, and I do not like the heat at all. So I thought to myself, okay, what is like going to be the easiest, quickest, like most palatable way to read a book out of doors? And so I went with a graphic novel. I did Lore Olympus Volume 2. Love me some Lore Olympus. Rachel Smythe does such a good job with the series. I'm obsessed with the webtoon. I keep up with it every week or every couple of weeks. And it is a reimagining, reinterpretation of the Hades and Persephone myth with incredible art. It's just bananas. I love it. I love the characters. I just really love it. It's just really enjoyable. It's a delight. Let's see if I can find like a really cool spread. I mean, it's just like bitchin'. You know what I'm saying? So that was a really fun time, and I did get a little vitamin D while reading that as well. Next, we have another new favorite, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This was my Spice It Up square. I had an author of color. First of all, let's just like a little commotion for the cover, please. How sweet is this? So cool. This book follows Sadie and Sam, who were childhood besties, and then they reconnect a little later in life, and they begin a relationship as collaborators designing video games. And it basically explores friendship, collaboration. There's this like underlying theme of like, we could have been lovers, but I would rather make our art than risk ruining it by like being lovers kind of thing. That's like a through line throughout the book. It's just so good. And when I first finished it, I was like, oh, that was like amazing, but maybe not a 5-star. I was like, maybe it's like a 4.75. But I have not stopped thinking about this book. It has really stayed with me. The character Marks has haunted me. He's so sweet. I love his character so much. Like, I can't stop thinking about Marks. I can't stop thinking about Sam and Sadie. I can't stop thinking about the video games that they created. It's exquisite. I love it. And I can't believe I didn't annotate anything, because there were so many good lines in here and just thoughtful, want to chew on it kind of situations. And so it's definitely going to need a reread sometime soon, because it is one of my new favorites. It lives on my favorite shelf right there. Okay, for the branch out square, the lighting has changed since I've started, but we're going to move on. But the lighting has changed quite a bit, I feel. Anyway, I keep hunching over like a goblin. For branch out, it's the challenge was to read a new genre, or a genre you're not used to. And I don't read essays. I don't read essays, I don't read short stories. And so I had this little filly on my shelf and I decided to go for it. This is by Natalie Haynes, Pandora's Jar, Women in Greek Myths. And it's just a bunch of essays. Each essay is evaluating, exploring the historical and context of these women, the way pop culture views them, the way they have been interpreted and represented, and how in their representation there tends to be a lot of like injustice. It was just really good. I learned a lot. I love all things like ancient Greek myths. I learned a lot of new stories. Like I did not know a lot about, let's see. I didn't know a lot about Jocasta. I didn't know a lot about Medusa or Phaedra, you know, or these are characters that have been in books I've read before, but haven't really given them a lot of thought. It was just it was great. I partially read it physically, partially listened to the audiobook. The author did a great job on the audiobook performance. And it was just, like I said, I love ancient Greece. So the more I can take in, I don't know what it is about it, but I just really, really enjoy it. So if you're wanting something maybe a little more educational, informational, just to learn more about these characters from antiquity, I say go for it. It was great. And then last but certainly not least, reading Pandora's Jar got me needing some more ancient Greece goodness. And I thought to myself, you know what? I think it is time for a reread of one of my all-time favorite books, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I did just a little annotation this time. What I did was I listened to the audiobook while I physically read. I eventually got it up to the speed of like my reading speed. Delightful. It was such a great experience. The narrator in the audiobook is stunning performance. That is a beautiful audiobook. And I am not a huge audiobook person. Like I sometimes really struggle with them. Love this audiobook. Love the book. Holds up every time. This is my third. My God. Wow. This is my third time reading this book. And I just love it more and more each and every time. So if you're not familiar, it follows the life and love of Achilles and Patroclus before and leading up to and during the Trojan War. So good. So good. Oh, I forgot to get what I'm currently reading. Hold on. Bed. Good boy. Okay, it is August 5th. And I wanted to share what I'm reading right now because I want to hear what you're reading right now. So I grabbed another series of essays by Audre Lorde. The Master's Tool Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. I know it's not very thick, but I'm trying to kind of take trying to take my time with it and really like read an essay, really reflect, think about it, observe it in the world and in my life. So that's been really good. I'm also reading A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is like a cozy fantasy. Again, not very long, but I'm like taking my time with it. That's the theme of 2022. We're taking our time. We are not in a rush. We're not in a rush. We're taking our time. And it's about this monk that just travels around in his little cart selling tea and offering comfort and advice. And I think it has something to do with a robot. And that's where we're at right now. But it's really sweet and like very atmospheric, and I'm really enjoying it. And then the big one that I'm really working my way through is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I'm making some good progress. It's a big book, and it's a huge undertaking because it's this obviously fantasy. Listen, I get that fantasy books, all books are made in people's minds, but some of this, I don't know how somebody came up with this. Like, I don't know how N.K. Jemisin was like, oh yeah, this post-apocalyptic world, and yet there's recurring apocalypse, and there are these people that can connect to the earth and create shakes. And it's just like, I can't explain it to you. I can't even give you a synopsis. Like, this is the way the world ends for the last time. There you go. That's basically what it's about. Pardon me. Icky. It's already gone cold. Great. Yeah, so I just wanted to share with you guys what I'm reading now. Here's my big old stack of books. Can I do this? I'm not strong enough. No, I can't. So anyway, those are the books I read in June and July and I'm reading right now. Please let me know what you are reading right now. And I also want to know what your favorite book from June and July was. And would be really keen to know if any of the books that I shared today have interested you at all. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a really great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.